Hi, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of Champagne and JD. I'm Andrew Champagne, he's JD Fox, and this week we are joined by one of the most respected voices in quarter horse racing. If you follow Los Alamitos at all, you know this guy, Los Ponies on Twitter, a proud member of Team No Cheese, which we are not going to hold against him here, even though I vehemently disagree. José Contreras stopping by the show. Jose, thanks very much for coming on.
What's up, Andrew and JD? Happy to join you guys to chat up some racing here on this. We're recording on a Thursday evening, right before Friday weekend of racing begins at Los Al.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, and we're looking forward to tackling all of this, including the early pick four sequence at Los Alamitos. They call it the best bet in racing. It is a $1 minimum in that pick four, which starts in race number one. It's 4 races around the hook at Los Alamitos. We both think it's a pretty good sequence, JD.
Yeah, and big shock to those just tuning in for the first time. Myself and Andrew disagree vehemently, as we always do.
Yes. So, to be fair, both of you guys kind of trickled in with your, first opinions before I kind of chime in with mine. And we all kind of disagree some along the way. Some way along the road, we disagree, so this should be fun.
You know who we're going to consult as a tiebreaker? We're going to consult Dave Weaver's daughter, because when it comes to Los Alamitos lately, very few have been better. We're going to get her on at some point, JD. Let's work with her agent and, see if we can provide kickback in the form of Paw Patrol toys or something. I don't know. It's
an offspring of Weaver. That's going to be an expensive get.
You guys are going to have to bring out the checkbook for that one. That's for sure.
We'll see what we can do. At any rate, we've got a lot to tackle, though, before we get to Los Alamitos. Less than 2 weeks until the Belmont Stakes, a week and a half out, and right now Tiz the Law looking like a very, very, very heavy favorite in the first leg of what I am calling the COVID Crown. I'm sorry, I can't call it the Triple Crown. It is not that sequence this year for a variety of reasons. Not trying to bash anyone in racing for that. It's just different. Tiz the Law, looking at a couple of early lines, may very well be an odds-on favorite. And JD, we talked about one of his races earlier on in the year, the Florida Derby. I have long thought this is the best 3-year-old in the country, regardless of anything coming out of Bob Baffert's barn. And now, unfortunately, we're not going to see him go up against the likes of Charlatan, up against the likes of Nadal. This looks like a one-horse race. And from a betting standpoint, if you're playing multi-race exotics, to me at least, the Belmont sort of looks like a free square.
And I've never been this close to a Triple Crown race and thought, I have no idea who else is going to fill out this field.
Right? Yeah.
It's such a weird feeling.
It is, because at this point, who's going? Who's going at this point?
Yeah. I mean, Patrick Biancone's got a couple of horses, but they just ran at Gulfstream, and we don't know if they're shipping. Mark Casse has Tapit to Win, who, when he's right, is very good. The problem is, when he's wrong, he's very bad. Todd Pletcher has mentioned Governor Morris may or may not run in that race. I believe they might be eyeing the Woody Stevens with that one. They might be lucky to get a field of 8 horses, which unfortunately is a system that they were trying to avoid when they drew the race. When they came up with the structure of the race, there was talk among some people, myself included, of the fact that maybe, just maybe, they might have to split the race entirely. And I think I have frozen in a very compromising position that may very well wind up being the screen grab of this. It kind of looks like Robert De Niro's reverse grin going on here. So I'm going to try to fix that, JD, while you and Jose wax poetically about the race that was once called the Test of a Champion. This year, though, I don't know what you call it.
Have you guys heard anything about King Guillermo? Is he just being pointed towards the Derby, or can he pop up at the Belmont?
I have not heard that there's any chance that King Guillermo is going to be running, and I don't know at this point if you're sitting with a West Coast horse and you're looking at the distance of the Belmont. I think you might take a chance here and look at shipping. And obviously, if you're going to do it, you're going to need to do it now, and you're going to need to contact that racing office. But again, it's almost a weird thing that normally right before a Triple Crown race, this would be the number one thing in the news cycle. And it's not the number one news thing in the news cycle right now. I don't really know what is in horse racing. There's just a whole bunch of things kind of batting around. I mean, Woodbine's had a great start to their meet. That's getting a lot of coverage. A lot of good handle at Canterbury to start their meet. That's getting a lot of coverage. I mean, it doesn't feel like we're a week and a half away from a Triple Crown race.
Not at all whatsoever. I mean, Saratoga is supposed to be a month away. And what do we know about Saratoga? What do we know about the stakes schedule? What do we know about who's going there and who's targeting the big races? Not a whole heck of a lot. And as somebody who takes a lot of pride in doing pretty well at that place behind me, it's really strange. This is unprecedented in a lot of different ways. And a lot of this isn't racing's fault, but at the same time, if you're going to run Saratoga, if you're going to run meets like Delmar, a lot of the appeal of that is having top-notch horses, being able to market them, and being able to say, okay, here are the dates that you need to look out for. Are they doing that? I don't think they are. I think there's a lot of uncertainty out there, and I really hope people get their stuff together. And that's a really good transition into the next item on our list, the unfortunate situation that is going on at Arlington Park. We are in a situation where we don't know if there's going to be racing at Arlington Park this year. We don't know if there's going to be an Arlington Million. Arlington Park, when it is going well, is one of the most fun places in horse racing. They installed a synthetic surface a couple of years ago for several reasons. So it hasn't helped them from that standpoint for some handicappers. But Arlington Million Day with the Beverly D, with the Secretariat, with a couple of other major stakes races that they had there, and all of the things that Arlington Park has hosted over the years. They hosted a Breeders' Cup, the Arlington Millions memories over the years, John Henry and the Bart, for goodness sakes. This is sad, JD.
Yeah, I mean, really, we can look at 2021 and what Arlington's trying to do right now, and push away 2020 for a second. So one of the things they're negotiating is they want to put the purses for some of those races, like the Arlington Million. They want to put that on the horseman's dime. It's just a very weird situation of they're making 2 years of negotiations, but they're really trying to push away the purse values and get that as part of the horseman's purse for some of those big races in that big day. And unfortunately, really, that's the big day they have left. They've had a lot of stakes downgraded that were graded stakes that are now just listed stakes throughout the rest of their calendar, and they have not played nice. I mean, you've got a point of comparison with what Hawthorne has done. Hawthorne has done such an amazing job of being open and available to horsemen, both of the standardbred and thoroughbred variety, and wanting to get racing going as quickly as possible. When Arlington was met with that challenge, they hesitated a little bit and they said, hey, we're an on-track handled sort of track. We need to make sure our fans can be in attendance, which, I mean, I will say that is definitely a track you want to experience there. For sure. It's one of the most beautiful places to watch a race in the country. But them putting that above Illinois Horsemen, that's been the challenge. And really, we're hoping to see a 2020 season out there. But I will say Fairmont Park, they've put their effort out there right now. You know, we're seeing great fields out there. They've upgraded their graphics. They're messing a little bit trying to get an HD signal out the door. The other tracks in Illinois are really trying to pick up the slack, and hopefully we can have the Arlington Park somewhat that we know and love at some point here in 2020. Now, talking about fans returning to the races, there was some interesting news coming out today that Los Al is going to try to get people out to the track starting tomorrow, and they've petitioned Orange County to do that. And Jose, obviously you've been somebody who has been at Los Alamitos for all of the racing during this quarantine time, so I know you've got some thoughts on what it would mean to bring that crowd back out to the Vessels Club and to Burgarts and what they can do there. But you know, give us a little bit of a sense, as neither of us have been on track, how it's been to be on a track where, you know, you're one of the few people that's not riding a horse or working a gate crew that's actually there on site.
Yeah, and it's been obviously a different feeling, a different scene being there during the current times. But I got to give a great tip of the hat to all the employees that are working there on the racetrack, the cleanliness, the sanitation. The horsemen and horsewomen that are taking care of these horses on a day in, day out basis. they follow all the protocols, and they've been, as good as they can do to keep racing going. So from that side of the business, it's been terrific to see it. But also it's I just barely found out with the rest of the crew, rest of the public about this Los Al plan that they're trying to get fans as soon as this Friday. Um, Obviously, there's going to be a different, I would say, a different normal per se, if you want to call it that way. But it's been, I think it's been one of the few fortunate tracks that it's been pretty much been nonstop since everything began to kind of slowly shut down. So I've been blessed to be able to keep working. I know many people haven't been able to do so, but I'm looking forward to having some fans on a limited basis, from what it sounds like, but at least getting some of those loyal local fans to come back to Los Al. And Los Al is a very niche, smaller grandstand compared to some of the major circuits. But if you want to enjoy quarter horse racing at night, some of the views that you can get from the grandstand here at Los Al, and the weather, of course, it's some of the best ambience to enjoy quarter horse racing at nighttime.
It's a really cool place, and shout out to all the people at Los Alamitos that are making things happen in a very difficult situation. Having been there a couple of times myself, both for thoroughbred racing and for quarter horse racing, it's a pretty darn cool place, and they've been able to do a lot for Southern California, especially picking up dates for the thoroughbred calendar as they did a couple of years prior. One of the things that I really wanted to talk with you about, Jose, though, is the importance of Los Al being open for some of the lower level horses at Santa Anita. They've come back to Santa Anita with a bit more foundation, I think, being able to get a race or two in at Los Alamitos, as opposed to several horses and groups of horses at Santa Anita that have been off for a couple of months. And the results have shown that the seasoning that they've gotten at Los Alamitos has in some cases been a big, big help.
Yeah, we've seen that right now that Santa Anita got back and going. Some of those horses that had races under their belt and Los Al to keep the fitness going, they've come back to run very well. And you've been able to find some prices, whether on top or underneath for the exotics. You've seen that those races at Los Al have proved to be key to to have those horses in fit level to race. Now, Los Al has been carting the 1,000-yard races. So for the people that are new to Los Alamitos, at Los Al, the longer distance, the farther distance that the thoroughbreds, the official thoroughbreds, can race is 4.5 furlongs. And the highest claiming price you can run at that's 4.5 is for $5,000. And now you can run the quarter horse and thoroughbred mixed races there, and then you can run 8,000, 10,000. We've seen 16,000, and then we've seen allowances going a little bit farther at 1,000 yards. So that's where you've seen some of these horses that are not from Santa Anita that have not dipped into a claiming price per se. They're still protected in those allowance races, but they're running very well at those 1,000-yard distances. And you've seen some of the horses now come back to Santa Anita and run very well. So, yes, the being able to card those races has allowed some of those horses to keep the fitness, and in that case, run well now that Santa Anita is back up and running.
Yeah, and really that was just being creative with the bylaws that allow Los Alamitos to run such a unique year-round meet, and that's something that it's such a constant, and seeing Los Al continue to operate during these times and run some of the big stakes that we're used to, and obviously some of the big trials, has been a big part of kind of the fabric of racing, especially nighttime racing here. So obviously this past weekend, the Ed Burke trials taking place, and to speak generally, Jose, some really fast times and some really impressive performances this past weekend.
Yeah, and Chance to Excel blew the doors off tonight. I mean, that performance from Chance to Excel, if he comes back and runs that type of effort with that time that he put up, I mean, they might be running for second. I mean, Chance to Excel, 17.311 for Monte Rosa. This gelding was just powering home, and we saw flashes of that powering in the maiden breaker before that trial victory. He was accelerating with a good authority, and he galloped out with plenty of good energy. So the key was he gonna show up and break well? And boy, did he show up! I mean, he was just gliding over that field. Before that, we saw some good performances, up to that point. But once Chance to Excel did that, I mean, it really blew the doors off the night.
And then we look at the other interesting thing, and that's page 2 of our qualifiers here, and that bubble and those times and how close they were for the last 3 to get in this field, it was exceptional racing. And I think on June 21st, we do have a lot of talent going forward. Is there anybody through the qualifiers that you think might have gotten enough trouble and still qualified that they may be able to contend with somebody like Chance to Excel, or do you think Chance to Excel is going to be an odds-on, tough-to-beat favorite, Jose?
Chance to Excel will definitely be the horse to beat in that race. But, some of these trials, as we get, when we begin the night, usually some of the first early trials are still daylight. So you kind of want to make note as it gets darker and the air gets thicker into the night, it's very hard to run fast times later in the night, just because sometimes the air gets a little bit denser. It's a little bit harder. So if you, for the people that are handicapping some of these finals, the final, if you watch some of the trials later in the night and you see something that kind of stands out to you, a horse had a little bit of trouble, but still was able to qualify, maybe some of those horses you tend to upgrade them because they still ran well. It was a little bit heavier in the night, and they still ran pretty well if we're able to find a little bit of trouble. So that would be my advice. Look at the second half of the qualifiers that came from the second half of the card. See if you can find some positives, either from gallop outs, early trouble, or some breeding that these quarter horses might develop as races come along. Then that's where I would look to and see if we can find some prices that might be useful there come finals night. But if Chance to Excel repeats that effort, or who's to not say they can still improve? He's likely race. If he can still improve, I mean, it might be lights out from that point. But second half of the card, if you can find some horses that are still improving, that ran well, given that denser air into the night, those are the horses that I would build a case for, at least the exotics.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, Jose, obviously 2-year-olds here reaching towards the middle of the 2-year-old campaign in the quarter horse racing world. So lots of room for improvement, and there are some lightly raced horses that could step up big time here when we have the finals. Again, a $1.115 million purse on June 21st for the Ed Burke Futurity. But plenty of good racing this coming weekend at Los Alamitos, and there's been some big pools in the early pick four, especially on Friday nights, and I think that trend's going to continue with this. As Andrew mentioned, we have all 4 races around the hook at Los Alamitos, and so we're going to dive right in and look at race number 1, which is going to be our biggest field that we have for the card that we're talking about, races 1 through 4, as we have a second page of graphics here, as we have 10 horses currently entered. Again, we're recording on Thursday night. The opportunity and chance for scratches is high as always, but a very interesting race that we all kind of see slightly differently. And Andrew, I kind of want you to kick off here because you've got a single, Jose has a single, and then I'm going deep.
Yeah, shocker, right? The two of us seeing a sequence totally differently. My best bet of the sequence comes in this race, which, figure, biggest field, you have a best bet, doesn't exactly go together. But I think we might get a little bit of value out of number 6, Derby Lady, who is 4-1 on the morning line. This horse came back running off of a long layoff, second beaten less than a length in her first start since July here at Los Alamitos. That race came at this level. Any step forward from that performance, I think, would make her very tough to beat. Is she a lock? No. But in a sequence like this, with that $1 minimum, you need to take stands and you need to be right. I think Derby Lady has a big-time chance in this race. She's my top pick, and I think we'll get that 4-1 morning line price, barring any scratches. Might be the second or third choice. And if that horse gets home, we knock out a couple of tickets, and that's going to set things up pretty well for us to go deep in races later on in the sequence, one of which I don't have a clue. So, Jose, you've got a single. JD, you're going deep. JD, you're driving the train. Which one wants to go first?
I'm going to let Jose talk about India's Loot here.
Well, I'm kind of in the same scenario as Andrew, because I'm going to call this race the no passing race, because I feel like whoever makes the lead here is going to win. You just don't see a lot of horses making different moves in this field. And I think that it's going to be – I do agree, Andrew, that the 6, I have him second. That's the main threat, I think, to the 1. But India's last time out broke well and chased a good 3-5 favorite by Beyonce there, who ended up winning by about 5 lengths. But India's Lou still held her own there. She was showing speed. She was chasing a good favorite in that event. Ended up finishing about half a length in front of Tenga Jewel, the third place finisher, who came back to win. Now, when I looked at this race, I said, look, there's not a lot of horses that either had consistent form or really want to make a lot of ground later. So I'm going to call this race a no passing race, and I'm hoping for India's Loot there to outdo the 6 Derby Lady and take them all the way. So I'm all in on the 1, India's Loot from the row.
And I have both of your horses. I'm taking this slightly differently. Okay, for India's Loot, this is the 7th straight effort going against older horses. Honestly, I feel like she's the speed here. If she doesn't win this race, I think she needs to go back to New Mexico and find some other horses to go against, because she's been going against a lot of these same folks here as a 3-year-old going against older. Last 2 runs have been good, been a clear second best, really needs to step up. Derby Levy obviously has the layoff line there that, had 10 months off from the races, big class drop, all of those things, Andrew. But I really want to focus quickly on She'll Take Charge, the 3. We don't exactly see Jaime Gomez really going in the thoroughbred direction.
Correct.
And that's one of the interesting things with this horse. He had 4 thoroughbred starts in 2019 with 2 horses, no wins. He had 4 thoroughbred starts in 2018 with 3 horses. Lone win was actually in the daytime in a $16,000 claimer. You have to go back to September 29th, 2017 for the last time Jaime Gomez got a win at night. And it was a 1-9 shot who immediately got claimed by Kelly Castaneda. So it's obviously an interesting spot, but why am I bringing up all these negative things with the horse that I actually like? Because there's some talent here, and it's just trying to figure out what horse is going to show up on Friday night. This was a $30,000 purchase at Keeneland in September 2017. Debuts as a 3-year-old, second choice in a maiden special at Sunland Park. Loses by 35 lengths and still somehow beats another horse home that actually finished and wasn't pulled up in the race. And then next up, 7,500 tag at Sunray Park, and is a long shot, second longest shot on the board, and finishes a nose behind a 1-5 favorite. And then comes back and obviously got dominated again. So really, there's one good effort, which I think is against similar level horses. Hopefully fitness is there. And then the other shot is the 10, just kind of the unknown, the first-time starter in the field. This is not a group of world beaters here. So obviously there's certain cases when I like a couple horses later down in the ticket, I'm going to throw a first-time starter in here. And I love a note that I found, and then I saw Jose had it as well in DRF, is that the Dam won at Bay Meadows, which is a track that just will forever be in my heart, Jose. So good pull there. But I'm going 4 deep there, 1, 3, 6, and 10 as we head to leg 2, where, again, I think I'm going to take continue a different path here. But, again, we've got claiming race $2,500, non-winners of 2, lifetime 3 and up here. And you're seeing all 6 entries on the screen right now here. And lots of different directions we can go. Andrew, I'm actually going to start with you again here, because I do think you have an interesting opinion in this race with 3 horses.
Well, for one, if Alicia's King wins, I'm going to be devastated. I did not use that horse. Alicia, of course, my girlfriend's name, for those of you that know. So if that horse wins, somebody call me a doctor. I went 3 deep in here, and I used the 3 horses that will likely take the most money. Number 1, Sharon's Fury has been competitive at this level for a while. Was a hard luck second last time out. Almost won despite a pretty bad start. Was beaten just a length. The rail draw, not ideal for horses that find trouble, but if this horse gets a clean trip, I think he'll be tough. Number 2, Delmar's Journey, meanwhile, goes second off a very long layoff and may have needed the race first off the bench. He was protected from being claimed that day. I love horses that are protected off of the claim in spots like that. I think it shows confidence on behalf of the trainer. No protection here, but that does lead me to believe that there's some talent there and that the potential for a return to form exists. So I'll use Delmar's Journey. And I'm also going to use number 4, Sierra Echo, who was second last time out on the first start for the Aquino barn. I'm willing to throw back the effort back, which I'm thinking was just too bad to be true. And Sierra Echo has a lot of early speed. I think could be tough if that one gets to the front end. 1, 2, and 4 for me, with the 6 being the, oh my goodness, if this horse wins, someone check on Andrew and make sure he's okay horse.
And really, I'm going with the single, and I'm singling Del Mar's Journey here. And obviously, it was a 21-month layoff. That horse made every move you want to see a horse coming off of that layoff. Put itself in the right position it needed to win. It was just a fitness situation. Would I have loved another work tab between now and the last start? Yes, I would have loved something on the work tab, but I think this horse is in better shape. I think if you dig back, I think this horse has a lot of talent that's still there, but obviously the long layoff, 21 months, you don't know what's going to happen. I'm willing to take a stand here and single the 2 Del Mar's Journey and really hope we see a return to the form cycle that we saw a couple years ago out of this horse. And Jose, you're going 4 deep here.
Yeah, I'm basically what I'm doing. I'm using the all button. Essentially, that's what it feels, because Lake Show has not won in a while, and he has not made an impact in a while. And then Alicia's King didn't really show much last time out. It was against Tougher, but the lone maiden breaking score was back in September, and those were soft fractions: 22 and 2, 46 flat, 53 flat. Those fractions are just not going to cut it. So those are the 2 non-contenders. Essentially, I'm buying the rest of the field: 1, 2, 3, and 4. I just didn't really have any conviction on anyone here. A slight lean towards the 1 on the rail because it was a good effort despite trouble. But other than that, I just don't really trust anyone. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 here in race number 2.
As we head to race 3, which is going to be $2,500 claiming non-winners of 3 lifetime, 3 and up here. Again, another field of 6 are going to hit the post on Friday night. And again, I'm going to lead off here because, again, I'm taking a stand. I have another single here, and that's going to be the 3 Sugar at Sundown. Obviously, last time she really had to fight to get the lead, first time at the level, kind of squeezed between 2 horses. It was a competitive race. This time, I'm not necessarily seeing that pace pressure develop, and Ramon Goosey jumps aboard, and obviously the Goose can get loose on the front end, and that's really what I'm hoping here. I do see some gate speed out of this horse, and I think Goosey can coax a little more out, can clear this field, has 2 slower horses inside. I think this can be an easy get over to the rail and take them wire to wire. So I am taking kind of a strong single approach here in race number 3, singling the 3 horse Sugar at Sundown. And Jose, you're going in a different direction with 2 horses and not including Sugar at Sundown here with your selections.
Yeah. I'm surrounding your selection because I've got the 2 horses that are around it. I've got the 2 Unchanged and the 4 Night of Idiots. Night of Idiots at 4 has burned plenty of money. Look at all those stars next to the odds, right? Look at that. Favorite, and it has not won. Well, tonight might be the night that she finds that field because she's got a few races under her belt, not a little south. She got an unlucky bob last time out there when losing by a nose behind Cat Dessert. So she's going to be rolling late. So I've got the closer here. And now as far as the front end, I think we're going to see some good speed from the 2 Unchanged. Unchanged comes out of that May 9th effort where this one got bumping at the start there, was the betting favorite. So ended up finishing 5th in that event. Same race as Lovely Storm, the rail horse, who ended up missing by a head. But I feel like there was more to give for the 2, and I feel like there's more speed there under Juan Sanchez for Sergio Morgan. So I'm hoping we'll flash speed with the 2. And then I'm hopeful that I have the best closer with the 4. So I'm going speed and closer with the 2 and the 4.
I think, Andrew, you're going speed and closer as well here with your pick here in race 3.
There we go. We're continuing this gimmick, which I think, JD, you might have tried as a one-off thing, thinking it wasn't going to take. But like any good co-host, I am taking your successful gimmick, and I am running with it. Absolutely sprinting. Because I don't like Night of Idiots in here. Jose, I don't know if you saw, but JD and I were nodding emphatically in agreement when you mentioned this horse has burned money. This horse has been the beaten favorite, not once, not twice, not 3 times, not 4 times, not 5 times, not 6 times, 7 starts in a row. At that point, I cut bait. Having said that, Jose, you mentioned it. She might have found the field. This is not an inspiring group of horseflesh. It's just not. It's a 6-horse field. I have a single in the first leg. I'm going 2 deep in the next leg, which we'll talk about. So I have the money to spread, and I'm going to use that. I'm going to hit the all button. Night of Idiots, my favorite name on the entire program. It's a great name. Kudos to whoever came up with it. If that horse wins, I'm going to be a little bit surprised, but I will be covered. And if another horse wins, well, that'll drive the payoff potential up significantly heading into the last leg. So I'm hitting the all button of glory in this spot, and I am just hoping that we get some sort of a price home, ideally not Night of Idiots. So if I have the 2 or the 3 win, one of us can be alive late. I would prefer JD since you used my first leg single, but, we'll see what happens. I hit the all button here. Just tough to have confidence in any of these runners.
And I think you just put I really do think you just put Night of Idiots in the winner's circle there with your long diatribe. So congrats. My ticket is now dead, ladies and gentlemen, not having that horse. So please use Jose or Andrews as we head to race number 4.
Stabbing.
And I did play against Night of Idiots last time out. She almost beat me, but I did play against her last time out. So tonight I'm using her. We'll see what happens. After what Andrew just did, I think she's going to win by about 3 lengths.
It's good to see that you guys have faith in me. That's the important thing.
As we head to race 4, we've got a $2,500 condition claimer for fillies and mares, non-winners of a race in 2020. 6-horse field here. And Jose, there's many directions you can go in this race, so I'm going to put you in the leadoff seat here. You're going 3 deep to close out this early pick 4.
Yes, and I am giving the slight head check mark selection to the 3 Queen Dreamer. It is a long layoff here, but the horses she was facing was pretty solid, and she was facing some good runners there. She's entered not to be claimed off the long layoff. No claim. I don't see it in my past performances here, so I expect this one to be protected. So I like that from this trainer. The barn can get him ready to go. So I like the hot riding Ramon Gusta jumps aboard. So that's the check mark to 3, who I expect to be forwardly placed here. And then I used the 4 My Project Girl, who has been actually running well there. Had been facing primarily $4,000 claimers last time out. She tossed her head at the start, lost a little bit of ground, but still was only beaten about 2 lengths there in that event. So I felt like it was a better than look start for the 4. And then the 6th Outer California, she always comes running, always shows up with her lace closing kick. If you look at her form, she's just a consistent runner that you can count on to be right there in the mix. So if you're a trifecta, superfecta, exacta player, that's a horse that you got to include, right? But she's going to come rolling, and I think switching to the outside post here in post number 6 here, she's going to have every opportunity to not be rushed out of the gate, to not be shuffled back. She should be able to get into a comfortable position, maybe 2 or 3, 4 wide, and make that run there down the lane. So I'm hoping for the comebacker, the 3 Queen Dreamer. If not, maybe the 4 or the 6 should be there closing right behind the speed. So 3, 4, and 6 here for me to close out this early pick 4.
And Andrew, you have one of those 2 horses on your ticket as you go 2 deep here in the closeout leg.
Yeah, and Jose and I actually agree on the top pick. That's number 3, Queen Dreamer. Jose mentioned hasn't been out of the barn since October, but I said this already. When a horse runs and is protected from being claimed, that's a sign of confidence a lot of times. I like that move, and when Queen Dreamer is right, she's pretty darn good. She won 3 in a row last year, was second in the last start before going to the sidelines. If she's ready to run in here, I think she's going to be incredibly tough to beat. I am also going to use number 2, Belligerent, which some might say is a hunch play for me if you've seen some of my rants on Twitter over the past couple of days. But Belligerent came back running off the bench, was second beaten ahead last time out a few weeks ago. This horse likely needs to take a step forward off of that effort, but second off the layoff, I think it's possible for that horse to do that. Belligerent, the likely second choice. So if Belligerent comes late to nail Queen Dreamer when Queen Dreamer needs a race, I'm not going to complain too much. And JD, judging by your ticket, I don't think you'd complain either about a favorite being beaten because you're sort of copying my move.
was my move to begin with, Andrew, and that's the all button of glory.
Bad artist copy, good artist steal.
True, very, very true. So for me in this race, I just see a whole bunch of horses that want the lead, and at this level, I can't trust any of them to get it. So I do think there's going to be a battle up front. I don't see a clear pace setter, and when I don't see a clear pace setter and we have such a talented horse coming off of a long layoff protected in this spot, I have a tough time finding the race shape. I do want to mention, actually, as somebody who's been passing horses, which at this level, sometimes that's a big thing if you can pass a horse. So Slightly has been passing horses here in 2020. So obviously, it's weird that you've got basically, a Hall of Fame quarter horse rider on her for the second straight start. But hey, he can close. He knows how to go fast on a horse. I think Slightly has a shot here at long odds and should be able to hit your trifecta at a worst case scenario. So I am hitting the all button of glory here, and I'm going to put all of our tickets up so you can see that there is no possible way for all of us to hit. We have varied. Obviously, Andrew going with the $36 play, and myself and Jose being much more economical with our $24 plays, so we can get some tacos with no cheese with our leftover $12.
You know what? If you give out winning tickets on this show, you can afford to give a little bit.
Here
bigger.
We go.
So I'm spending a little bit more money, and you know what else? If I go to a taco place that charges for cheese, I can afford it.
That's why quesadillas are invented, my friend.
I
Get the cheese out of the tacos,
but every once in a while, you just need a taco with some cheese. I'm just saying. And mind you, there's some food I can't eat. Gives the old ticker a little bit of a problem. But I'm just saying, team cheese right here.
By the way, the rider on the 5 Slightly is Eric Garcia. Which,
it's Eric Garcia.
You might be thinking Eddie, yeah.
I'm thinking Eddie Garcia.
Yeah. So Eric Garcia, young thoroughbred rider. He's very capable. He's gotten some winners from the last couple of weeks. So that is Eric Garcia on the 5 Slightly.
All right. So as usual, it's not one of our shows without me making an egregious error. So hey.
Here we go. All right. Yeah. Woohoo.
I had to put a graphic up last week, Jose, when I said something stupid that said my brain didn't work. Ignore this part. So yeah, we had that as well. So it's Eric Garcia on the 5 Slightly.
I've frozen a number of times on this broadcast, so I'm just saying you're in okay company. I think the only one of us that hasn't screwed something up yet is Jose. And Jose, we're not done. There's still time.
Yes, there is still time.
As we head to final thoughts here, obviously my final thought for the racing that's coming up this weekend, and Andrew, I think you're starting to get on board with this, but obviously if we weren't talking Los Al, there is a big card at Eagle Farm on Friday night, 4 group races in the late pick 4 sequence, the late quaddy sequence there, something we'll definitely be following on Twitter. We'll have tickets. I'll have a ticket available, and I might be able to get Andrew to put a ticket out there as well. So some big Australian racing happening on Friday. The other thing that I want to mention is it's starting to feel normal again. We're starting to feel selections, in terms of what we can bet on and what we can choose to bet on. Obviously, some of my circuits that I follow closely, Woodbine, Fort Erie, are starting to come back online and have some great cards. There was a great day of racing here on Thursday for Woodbine, and hats off. They were nationally available on TSN in Canada. Very, very cool to see that happening. So I'm excited that for a while, and I want to get your guys' take on this, for a while it just felt like some of us were just placing money on races because it was what was there and available versus us being able to pick and choose our sequences and pick and choose tracks that we follow, know the circuit, know the trainers, so on and so forth.
Jose, you go first. You're the guest.
All right, so I was going to mention, have you guys noticed that these new tracks that are now starting to race back after, this break, a lot of them have seen how the game, it's not about running on weekends. It's about running when the horse players' eyes are available. Now you're seeing Canterbury announce they're just running during the week, right? And Lone Star, we're just running during the week. We don't want to get overlapped with the big circuit weekend because now we notice that horse players are out there and they want to bet whatever track is on. Bingo! It took a pandemic like this for racetracks to realize, you know what? Let's make ourselves available to the horse players' eyes the best we can. And that's actually refreshing to see that now the racetracks are starting to pay attention to the bettors that are voting with their wagering dollars, and that's awesome to see. And it's also fun to see that Canterbury now is offering that low 10% take up pick five. That is awesome.
It's almost like tracks get more money when they don't run on top of each other. Gee, who's been saying that this whole time? Oh, wait, the bettors. Hey, we got listened to. One in a row for the good guys. On a serious note, JD, going back to what you were saying and piggybacking a little bit off of what Jose was talking about, it's been pretty cool seeing tracks adapt and find places in which to thrive. Laurel Park has been running on Mondays. This past Monday's card was a really good card. A lot of full fields. And it's only going to get better once horses start running back a time or two. JD, I know you're a big fan of Woodbine. Horses are coming off of very long layoffs to run there. There's a little bit of an issue shipping, obviously, with everything that's been going on. Once we get into a little bit of a rhythm, if they keep those practices up, you're going to see some pretty big handle totals. Looking at our friends in the harness world, Scioto Downs has been setting records every single night. Shout out to our friend Gabe Pruitt, who has been doing some tremendous work there. The Meadowlands is getting back up and running, and they've got a lot of big fields, a lot of full fields, a lot of races in general coming up over the next couple of nights as they look to get back underway. It's an interesting time, and it's one of those things where you look around and you see more and more places trying to return to some semblance of normal. Whatever normal can be defined as, that's what people are trying to do. You're starting to see tracks attempting to reopen to fans. We'll see how that goes. That's a different discussion for another time, but it's one of those things where a lot of people are trying to adapt and thrive as best as they can, and we're going to see that with a lot of tracks that are just now starting to become open. Pennsylvania has finally kickstarted the process to get Parks and Penn National and Presque Isle back up and running. That'll be great. Monmouth Park has laid out a plan to reopen. That'll be great. A lot of tracks starting to try to find ways in which to reestablish themselves, and it'll be fun to see how those efforts go moving forward, and if what we're talking about still maintains, or if they try to revert back to the status quo, which I'm really hoping they don't do, because some of these tracks have found a winning formula and should stick with it.
And speaking of that, I want to give a shout out, since we're having a quarter horse conversation tonight. Ajax Downs is running Wednesday afternoons, Wednesday mornings for us on the West Coast. I think that is an absolutely brilliant move in Ontario. Obviously, they've had to shift around. Woodbine has kind of shifted around their post times. They saw that Fort Erie's kind of got the Monday, Tuesday thing going on. They had to find their niche, and their niche is Wednesday afternoon into Wednesday morning here on the West Coast, quarter horse racing, and we're going to see it through August, and then they're going to go back to their normal schedule in September, where they're going to run on Mondays. But I'm really excited to see that, and some really exciting quarter horse action for the Canadian quarter horses out of Ontario. And that's Ontario, Canada, not Ontario, California.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really cool tracks there, and one small track that I had meant to shout out earlier, but it's still in my mind. Grants Pass Downs starts next week. Our buddy Jason Beam will be on the mic in Oregon. I know he's really excited to return to Oregon. Of course, he was the voice at Portland Meadows for many years. One of the best guys in racing, just somebody who, wherever he goes, he does really good things, and I'm looking forward to hearing him at Grants Pass. I haven't wagered a lot on Grants Pass in the past, but I'm going to take a closer look, because that's a circuit that deserves to have good things happen to it, especially at Portland Meadows, unfortunately being no more. So I didn't mean to step on your toes there a little bit, JD, but that sort of hit me like a lightning bolt when you started talking about Ajax.
Yeah, and that's the second commercial meet for them. They've gone from being a fair meet. Now this is their second year of going about it. And actually, Michael Rona called the races up there last year. So they've done a really good job investing in the product up there near the Oregon-California border. Jose, final thoughts for tonight. Obviously, some great racing action at Los Alamitos this weekend, but anything else you want to highlight?
Well, first, I want to give you guys a question. So now that we've had this, this lockdown, everybody's been at home, there's been different tracks running. I want to get an answer from each individual of you guys. Have you now rediscovered a circuit that you didn't really pay attention to before, that now you're following after this, you're going to keep paying attention to?
Pick me, pick me, pick me. I want to go first.
Go first, Andrew.
Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. Oi, oi, oi. I am grateful to that gentleman right there for as much as I bust his chops, for as much as we go back and forth. This was a guy who, when we started this show and we were looking for things to talk about, said, hey, you should look at Australia. We should go in. It'll be fun. We'll have a good time. We'll see if you like it. It's a completely different product down there. Full fields, horses that run back very frequently, 20-cent minimums for exotics. It's a fun place to look at when you're in desperate need of a change of pace. I mean, not trying to name names or name tracks. I'll try to be as vague as I possibly can about this. There are some big tracks that are putting together some offerings that, despite everything that's going on in the world, the offerings are less than stellar. You look anywhere in Australia, 14 horses, 16 horses, 18 horses, 20 horses, more than 20 horses if you count the horses on the AE list. It's a really fun betting puzzle, and when you hit, you're going to make money because of the amount of combinations that are out there to potentially cover. So that's a really cool circuit, and JD, I'm grateful to you for turning me on to it.
And really, I want to shout out Jose, too, because Jose started getting down in Australia, and I think early on there, the first few days you did it, Jose, you thought it was just a place to go to print money.
Yeah, I mean, because so this is usually how my schedule works, right? So you read the comments in the ERF. I do the trip comments for Los Al races now, in addition to providing the analysis. So the entries for Friday come out on Tuesday. So on Tuesday night, I'm working for Friday's notes already, right? So as we're going through this lockdown, obviously I cover the Australia racing where I'm on set, but I leave all the deep dive work to Candace. She's terrific, right? But then now that I'm working at night and doing these comments late into the night, I was like, let me pay attention to some of these Australia racing now, more diving deep, and honestly, I can claim I'm up on Australia racing because it's been terrific. Some of these low minimum pick fours, you bet them for 40 cents, 60 cents, full fields. You might only catch a 6-7-1 in one of these sequences, and boom, you're off and rolling to a nice payout. So I'll raise my hand. I've fallen completely in love with some of this international racing, not only Australia, but Japan. It's a whole new product. I followed Hong Kong racing since my visit a few years ago more closely, but now Japan and Australia, I'm raising my hands. Those are two international racing that I've completely now fallen in love, especially late at night when I'm doing some of my prep work for Los Al.
And I wish I had an answer for you, Jose, but for me it hasn't felt like a lockdown because my circuits have been open and running the entire time because Australia is really where I go. And really seasonally we would start to see, I'm obviously the two scenes I follow are Canada and Australia. I'm a weird guy, Jose, but
yes, you are.
We saw the Canadian track start to open up, and my former love affair with the Cinnaboya Downs is now out the window. We won't get into that on this podcast. We don't have enough time, but obviously Australia is almost a nightly thing, at least on in the background for me. Keep track of everything, the resources that are available for bettors and that are available for free for bettors. That's a
huge thing. All the information and the data and the thing that is available for free for Australia racing is one of the keys that got me looking more closely at it. Same Hong Kong. If people are familiar with Hong Kong racing, there's tons and tons of data and information for free. For free. All this and this detailed data that you can use and you can really dive into. And same with Australia, and that's one of the reasons why, why not? Full fields, low minimums. You can get involved with very little. If you're a new handicapper, a new player trying to dip your toe, I mean, Australia is one of those things where you can get involved with a really little upfront cost there, and it's definitely one of the fun circuits to follow.
Andrew, do you have final thoughts? You have a question you want to quiz the audience here?
Quiz the audience, huh?
I don't know. I tried.
Okay.
Doesn't always work.
I got
Okay.
one. Jose, you have the bad beat therapist.
Mm-hmm.
I envy you for that. I think that's fantastic. I think that's awesome. Have you tried to maybe steer her down the Sophie Weaver school of thinking?
Not yet. She's way too young.
It's
She's
never too
newly.
young, ever.
Well, I'll tell you this. Her coloring books are my old Nightline programs from Los Al that are from the week before. Those are her coloring books. Those are her coloring books.
That's great.
She gets to color in the horses right over my notes from the previous week. So those are her coloring books. And yes, I have the Babby therapist. And the reason why that nickname came along because one time I can remember vividly, I missed like a pretty big, 4 or maybe close to 5-figure pick six score at Los Al. And I came home and I was, during my drive home, I was beating myself up because that's a horse that was very havable. I came home, I walk in the door, and she greets me with a Barbie, let's go play. And guess what? I completely forgot about the bad beat I just took. So from that moment on, she became the bad beat therapist because she can care less what happened to me, what tough beat I had. I walk in the door, she's like, let's go play. And that's it. That's my therapy. Bad beat therapist out the window, boom. So it's stuck. That's the bad beat therapist. And my bankroll manager, of course, is my wife. She handles all the monies. She gives me the bankroll. She's the bankroll manager. And that's that. Now, the little one, Ariana, we don't have a nickname for her yet, but we're working on it.
JD, I can't find a better way to end the show than that. I got nothing better than that story. I am not a father, but I am an uncle. I've got 2 young nieces, 4 and 2 years old. I get it, man. I absolutely get it.
My favorite.
You walk in the door, they got a smile, and they got dolls to play. That's it. That's the therapy. You forget about any kind of bad beat you just had.
My favorite picture of my daughter is her holding her first racing form last year at Arizona Downs, and I still look at that picture all the time. So hopefully we can take her to a racetrack here in the state of Arizona soon. And obviously throughout the country, everybody be safe out there. Obviously restrictions are lifting, but also be smart, social distance, wear a mask, all that good stuff. We've obviously got some opinions on that here on this podcast, and we'll leave it at that. But obviously you can find Jose at Los Ponies on Twitter, and obviously you talked a little bit about Nightlines. That's another great resource at Los Al, and obviously you're doing a lot of work there. You started doing a lot more in-house on their video simulcast feed as well.
Yeah, and then right now, currently during this lockdown, we the TVG group doesn't. Their team doesn't have the full team, obviously, to work behind the scenes. Just like us in-house at Los Al, we don't have our full team. So it can get hectic with delays and audio mix-ups and all that. So, some of my audio has now been forwarded to the in-house feed just to make sure we're getting content out. And thus far, we're doing the best we can. And look, tip of the hat to all the people working behind the scenes. Because all the camera people, the graphics, audio, it's not easy working with a short team, but they're doing the best they can. And it's fun to be able to work with a team that works as hard as they do with the limited resource right now. But hopefully we get to some kind of normal soon in the future.
No kidding. And just echoing that, having worked at TVG for a couple of years, HRTV before that, you get intimately familiar with the many hats that the people behind the scenes wear, and you don't notice them until something goes wrong. And a lot of times I think they get a bad rap, but these people, the men and women that are working at TVG, at the track feeds around the country, trying to maintain some element of order in a situation where they're being asked to do something, JD, that you and I both know very well, do more with less. It's a less than enviable position. These are incredibly talented people, and they're showing that here because if you don't notice anything, trust me, there are about 10 different crises going on at any particular moment in any control room ever. Been there, done that, bought the T-shirt. These people are very, very good at what they do.
Yes, they are.
All right, I think that wraps it up for this week's edition of Champagne and JD. Again, special thanks to José Contreras for joining us at Los Ponies on Twitter. Enjoy Los Al this weekend. Andrew can be found at Andrew Champagne. He'll probably have another winning ticket of some sort given out on this podcast, or he'll win his Australia ticket tomorrow. Something crazy will happen. Be sure to follow him.
And contest on Saturday at Churchill. That's where I'm eyeing.
All right.
And you can follow me at Horse Tickets. Any ticket that is not associated with the show tends to do pretty well. Any ticket that's associated with the show does very poorly. Keep that in mind. We had a bunch of top picks at Fort Erie this week on Monday and Tuesday. Almost cold deck a dollar pick four that paid over $1,500. We had to go to a second choice in the final leg to get it. Just saying. I do occasionally have correct opinions in wagering. It's not just Andrew on this podcast. So, again, thanks everybody for joining us this week on Champagne and JD. And Andrew, hit him with the catchphrase.
Be careful and stay off the beaches.
Have a good night, guys.
Have a good night.